universe.
The force of gravity is determined by the gravitational constant. If this constant varied by just 1 in 10 to the 60th parts, none of us would exist.
That seems pretty crazy, but here's what an actual physicist has to say about it.
There's a famous example that theists like to give, or even cosmologists who haven't thought about it enough, that the expansion rate of the early universe is tuned to within 1 part in 10 to the 60th. That's the naive estimate back of the envelope, pencil, and paper you would do. But in this case, you can do better. You can go into the equations of general relativity, and there is a correct, rigorous derivation of the probability. And when you ask the same question using the correct equations, you find that the probability is 1. All but a set of measure 0 of early universe cosmologies have the right expansion rate to live for a long time and allow life to exist.
Or here's another one.
Consider the expansion rate of the universe.
So Holy Kool-Aid brought in an actual physicist in Sean Carroll. So I have an actual physicist in Dr. Michael G. Strauss here. So what are your thoughts on the gravitational constant and fine-tuning?
Well, again, this isn't actually, to be honest, I'm not sure what either Holy Kool-Aid or Sean Carroll are talking about. Neither one gives enough information. First of all, the gravitational constant isn't the same as the expansion rate, so he talks about the gravitational constant, then he turns to Sean Carroll to talk about the expansion rate. Now, they're related in that the amount of matter in the universe gives you some idea of the expansion rate. And so I always have heard that the amount of matter in the universe is fine-tuned to 1 part in 10 to the 60th, and that would give the expansion rate. But I don't know what Sean Carroll is talking about when he says it's equal to 1. So I actually tried to find any papers at all. I spent about an hour looking for any papers that talked about the general relativity giving an expansion rate of 1. The only thing I know of is that if cosmic inflation occurred, then you would get the right mass density in the universe, where you'd have a flat universe, and I think you could call that an expansion rate equal to 1. The problem with that is that inflation itself has to be finely tuned in order to do that. It has to turn on at the right time. The mechanism has to turn off at the right time. And so to be honest, out of everything in that video that I looked at and said, this isn't debunking the fine tuning, this is one part that I looked at and said, I'm not even sure what they're talking about. And Sean Carroll certainly didn't give enough information to let me know what paper to look at. But I did look at some of the other papers, and we'll talk about those, and I'll show you how Holy Kool-Aid has totally misunderstood the paper itself. I have great respect for Sean Carroll. Out of all the atheists I listen to, he is the one that most often has a good understanding of both sides of the discussion and is very thoughtful. And in fact, some of the things Sean Carroll has said really point to theism rather than atheism. And so I have a lot of respect for him. I'd love to know what he's talking about, but he didn't give me enough information. I can only assume it's inflation, but he knows that inflation has to be fine-tuned to give a expansion rate that we need. So I'm not totally sure how to answer this one. There just wasn't enough information to know what they were even talking about.
That's super helpful, and I appreciate your honesty. And I do think, for Sean Carroll, like that clip, I recognize that that's his debate with William Lane Craig on God and cosmology. So that's probably why he didn't give all that information. He's trying to get it all.
So what I would say is listen to William Lane Craig's rebuttal of that, and you'll probably find the answer. William Lane Craig does his homework. He's not always right, but he does his homework, and I bet he had an answer to that Holy Kool-Aid didn't want to show.